Spanning the globe, Curtis Nite Enterprises.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome to my podcast, The Soul Survives Death.
Get over!
And thanks for getting over here. Before I get hot and heavy on that subject matter, I recorded just some ramblings, some spontaneous thoughts that just are maybe not all connected, but I just connected them all up. And here's what I came up with. There's some accompanying video with it as well. So here it is.
Headland State Beach. Just didn't seem like it usually is.
I don't know.
Maybe that's just me.
I don't think so.
Man, I was just sitting here thinking, as I usually do, and over Driver Duel, what a great version. Look how simple their setup is. Bluebirds fly. And yeah, I don't know, that just moves me. Sometimes, I don't know, man, what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah, boy.
I don't know, I'm just thinking about Puerto Rico. I can't wait to get there, man. You know when your soul just knows that's where you should be? It goes back to life's an adventure, not a destination. I accidentally had the camera pointing the wrong way, like towards my face. And I quickly reversed it because I don't feel comfortable on that side of the camera. You know what's weird though is I feel very comfortable, always have, in front of a microphone. And other people certainly that have had way greater financial success than me have said the same thing. But I don't know what it is. I just feel natural. I feel like maybe I can hide behind the microphone, and it's that barrier between having to deal with other souls. And I say that without judgment or arrogance, or it's just the way it is. It's not my truth, it's God's truth. I say that a lot, but I mean it. But God means it. And, oh, by the way, my channel's 300 more views in the last 30 days, so that's a good sign for me. I've been doing a lot of hard work. In fact, you're listening to the most popular erotic song from the erotic song playlist.
What are those?
It's very interesting the way my playlists have gone. Meaningful meditation music commanded the #1 spot. Curtis Nite took over for a couple months. But now meditation music has slipped to 3. #2 is erotic songs, and #1 Curtis Nite likes. And I'm not blowing my own horn. Well, yeah, maybe I am. But the reason I say that is there is so much variety on my playlist. And I think people like that. And I bring up a lot of songs that souls will say, oh, wow, I forgot about that song. So anyways, yeah, that's solidly in #1. So I'm proud of that. Hey, I can be proud sometimes, right? You know what? This is probably going to be just kind of another random thoughts part of the podcast. I'm thinking of using this before the real subject matter, the heavy subject matter.
Serious?
Which is the soul survives death. So what does that mean? How are you supposed to behave knowing that? And if you still do not believe, that's fine. You have a right not to. You have your own feelings. But to me, there is overwhelming evidence. So I am not going to get into talking points about it because I already know it's there. But I'm doing this podcast because I wanted to try to analyze. I mean, I didn't always know this. But now that I know it, I feel like I can act in a different manner. And so hopefully I'm going to explore some of that. This is the weird, zany, off the wall, comments all over the place introduction to The Soul Survives Death.
We definitely don't die. Only our bodies die when we're done with them. Our bodies are like old, used cars. When you're done with them, you slough them off, and you don't think about them again. We don't need to be afraid of dying. Dying is the natural process. It's just like birth. It's very natural, nothing to be afraid of.
And that clip I just played comes from John Davis, who I featured in my Crossing Over 3 special, my visual podcast I did a few months ago, which was just incredible, blew me away. The most specific and accurate one I've ever heard. He was only clinically dead for 7 minutes, yet went on that wonderful tour of just some of the other side. And the video you're now watching comes from Open Your Reality. Chad did a special about what happens to your soul after death, and I thought it was very good, so I'm just featuring a couple minutes from it. You'll have to watch his whole thing if you're intrigued by it, because I really do respect copyright. But his images that he captured and the way he explains things, I thought was very powerful and easy to understand. So I thank him for his efforts.
And if you're already familiar with the death process and afterlife, the information here may answer some remaining questions you've had and reaffirm your beliefs. Now that we've discussed the preliminaries, let's explore what is perhaps the most fascinating subject under the sun. What happens to us after death? Immediately following the death of the body, and sometimes before impending death, the individual's consciousness will float up and outside the body, usually hovering over it. This is why some people who've had near-death experiences report having seen and heard all that was going on while they were unconscious. The only difference in a final death is that the consciousness does not return to the body. In either case, it's interesting to point out that any physical suffering a person was going through in their body near the time of death completely vanishes. Basically, once the consciousness has exited the body, all the pain associated with the physical is gone. In its place is a feeling of lightness and relief. In other words, whatever physical limitations were imposed on that person, whether it be a missing limb, blindness, a degenerative disease, have no effect whatsoever on the consciousness when it leaves the body. Many people who have suffered close to death feel rejuvenated and amazed after leaving their body. They often look down upon their body as an empty vessel that's no longer important and no longer identify with it. Now, what happens next really depends on the way a person dies and their level of soul evolution. All souls usually fall into one of 3 categories. There are the beginner souls, who have not learned much since their creation. This is either because they've only had a few incarnations, or they may have sufficient incarnations to evolve, but for one reason or another haven't learned the lessons they need to. The next stage of soul evolution are the intermediate souls. These are souls who've most likely had more incarnations than a beginner soul. Intermediate souls have a better picture of what's happening after death. and don't resist the death process as much as new souls. The last type of soul is the advanced one. These are very rare around the earth. These souls usually have no friction after the death process and go directly to the afterlife. They have a very clear understanding of what's taking place. Advanced souls usually return to a physical body only to be teachers and guides. All of the ascended masters that I've spoken about in other videos are advanced souls of the highest level.
Okay, I hope you all enjoyed that perspective on the soul surviving death. Here now is my take on everything.
Get over here!
I didn't always believe in an afterlife. In fact, I looked for every reason that there wasn't one. But when you have all these people with near-death experiences, NDEs, when you have all these psychics and talented, gifted, spiritual intuitives and mediums that are picking up all this on the other side, everybody can't be hallucinating. So it definitely brought me on the path, and I now know that it's going to be there. It is our true home. And knowing that, I said to myself, should I change my behavior? I think I have already. I've been spiritually active now going on 30 years. And I am just way more forgiving of people. I look at the big picture. That's why I said the 5-minute rule. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. That's why I don't judge, because we're souls that are put in these bodies. Who cares what color they are or who their love interest is? It doesn't matter. We'll all understand when we get back home. We probably all been male, female, and different races. So I started seeing then people as souls, maybe 10 years ago, 10 to 12. And once I took that perspective, that's when I started feeling more. I feel people's pain more. That's the downside and what they're going through. But I made it a mission of mine to try to help and lift up others. Just do my part. And hopefully some of the things I have said in this podcast are helping people. I'll never know for sure, but I'm putting that good energy, the good vibes out there, and trying to really hit home the point that you can overcome negativity. You can overcome whatever situation you're in and lead a better, happier life. Healthy too. When you change your mindset. One of the core principles of One Soul Story is PMA, positive mental attitude. 90% of anything you do is mental, and then there's the physical part. And it's easy if you allow it to be easy. And then you throw in the other things I've been talking about. Act to attract, manifest what you want in your life. And I promise you, it will come. I worked hard at that, and it comes. So, and the other core principle, I think the main principle is do not judge others. This took me a long time to perfect, and I might not even be perfect at it. But I stop when I'm about to make a judgment about someone, because that's very unfair to them. You don't know every life experience that they have absorbed. Remember, we're energy. And that's why I say, be around good energy, give off good energy, and you'll attract good energy. And the negative energy will stay away, because 40% of the population is negative and dark souls. It's just the way it is. How do I know this? Because I am blessed to know this. Like I said in my description of my podcast, I don't write things down. Right before I turned on the microphone, I said, God, help me to hit it. Help me to express what I need to express through the other side. And it is about love. Love is all that matters. And love can take a lot of different forms. But without veering too much off the subject, to me it was a relief to finally be convinced that the other side awaits us. Paradise, bliss, that feeling we all search for on this plane called Earth. But we won't have it till we get over there. And wow, how we will appreciate it. And we'll soak it in. Did you ever hear of anyone having an NDE that wanted to come back? No. Because that's our home. You're 30. You could eat if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to go to the bathroom. There's no bugs. How beautiful is that? You can experience, you can learn, you can transport yourself to wherever you want to go. You telepathic communication mostly. I mean, does that sound like paradise? Heck yeah. You could have a job, but you don't need it to have money to put food on your table. Think of everything that causes you grief and misery down here. It will not be over there. Animals play together. Your pets definitely will be reunited with you. I wouldn't go there if that wasn't the case. I love you, my boy Dylan. So hopefully this will help you not to be afraid of dying. Dying should be embraced because you have graduated. You've graduated. You don't have to be in this hellhole anymore. But you'll be stronger over there, more spiritually advanced for having come down in this life and surviving the negativity, learning your lessons, strengthening your soul. You could choose to come back if you want. I already know I ain't incarnating anymore. Unless, God pressures me. But I could be a spirit guide and help others. Everyone has a guide. Try to get to know yours. Try to get to at least feel the thoughts that they're sending your way. It's helped my life greatly. As I said, I'm a loner. And I don't know why. It is what it is. Being around too many people, I start to get very nervous. I seem talkative and this social butterfly when I'm talking on the microphone. If you met me in person, I might not say a word. You know what I say. You know my saying. Don't talk unless you can improve the silence. But to me, knowing that there's an afterlife takes all the pressure off. I can enjoy life. I can try to help as many people. I'm not hung up on material things. And I know there's a reward that is awaiting for me. That is waiting for me. And it is pure, powerful love. There are still some people I meet that adamantly believe we cease to exist. I don't judge people. They're perfectly entitled to think that. I'll try to say a few things. Well, consider this. What about this? Are they all cahooting together and giving us misinformation? What about ghosts? Well, a lot of people don't believe in ghosts. I saw several of them throughout my life. I believe in them. And they're nothing to be afraid of either. So for me, that knowledge of knowing we have an afterlife to go to has allowed me to raise my energy, my vibration here, see people as souls, and try to help those souls. I don't see bodies anymore. Now, like I said, the downside is I feel a lot of people's pain and frustrated I can't help them more. Family, friends, whatever. But that's not my responsibility. Everyone has to experience things for themselves. That's how the soul grows. So I'm so excited. I love talking about the afterlife and the orientation center and the scanning machine and the, I guess, motion picture room that John Davis described, where he saw thousands, maybe 1 million planets and galaxies. And we're not alone, trust me. But to me, wow. And I've watched similar shows like John Davis, and they don't lie. Their story doesn't change. That means it's the truth. And a lot of things that John Davis said, Sylvia Browne said 20 years earlier about the Orientation Center, about the Greek buildings, about the beautiful gardens. So, and she really should explore that possibility that definitely afterlife is real. I know it is. I'm not here to convince you it is. But there's a lot of benefits from knowing that you're going somewhere good. I think it takes the pressure off. It takes the pressure off of saying, what more can I do in my life? Do as much as you can. You won't be judged. But treat people with respect. Try to help those that are lower in their life, that are having problems. Try to lift up other souls. Here's a good way to put it. And man, it has lit a fire under me. I really don't want to even get a job. I love making these videos. And I'm hoping I can get a job in video or audio. That's my passion. I walked away. I worked for a month at a $50,000 a year job, and I said, no, I can't do this. God, the money was awesome. But my heart wasn't into it. Knowing I'm going to the afterlife, I'm not wasting any more time here. So my goal is still Puerto Rico, when the time is right, and it's coming up very soon. And I can't wait to do my first podcast from Puerto Rico. Yo, baby, I'll have that Puerto Rican music and food and the rum, and we will have a great podcast. And I'll tell you what, too, that first one that I have in Puerto Rico, you will see me live doing it. I've done about, 6 podcasts, visual podcasts, out of my 12 or 15. Every one now will be visual, but I've always just put in clips on it. That you never see me talking or anything like that. But that will change in Puerto Rico. Without a doubt, and I could do it from the top of this mountain. I can do it in front of the most beautiful beach you'll ever see. I could do it while I'm snorkeling. I want the island life. I will get the island life. I hope you get anything you desire. You can do it. I know you can. This is Curtis Nite. You've been listening to a very special You've been listening to The Soul Survives Death. There is no death, people. Jesus wants you to know that. God bless. I love you all. See Nite out.